kind of scares me, so that means it must be fun. Years ago, there was a movie, I think it was Troy, Brad Pitt, and he plays Achilles. It's been years. But at the beginning of the movie, Achilles goes out to face the opposition, and they're going to pit their best man against him. And right before he goes to fight him, one of the other Greek soldiers says to him, "I would never be able to fight a man like that." And Achilles looks at him and goes, "And that's why no one will remember your name." It's 5 in the morning. Well, now it's 5:30. I can't sleep. My brain's awake. Not in a bad way, just too much going on, you know. As a tattoo artist, I am about to walk away from a dream, really. What my wife and I are about to do would seem crazy by most people's standards. But, I don't know. Sometimes it just comes down to, do you want to keep doing what you're doing, or do you want to try to reach for one more dream? The big one. I can't not try. I have to try. We have to try. So I'm going to walk away from being a tattoo artist in the Witch City in Salem, Massachusetts. This will be interesting. There we go. Hey, better than a lighter, right? Old school technology. They had these way back in the day. The one thing I've wanted more than anything else, with one exception, is a farm. The thing I wanted more than anything else in the world was to be married to my best friend. I got that. I'm very lucky. I've had almost 23 years of being married to my best friend. It's not nearly enough time. Not even close. But second to that was, I wanted to be on a farm. That's all I was told about my entire life, was a farm. I just gotta figure out how to make this happen. That's why this whole process is something I figured I'd share. We know there are other people who have the same dreams or similar dreams, and we want to see these people realize their dreams too. And we know this can be really fucking scary. We get it. It's anything in life you're going to do that's worth doing is going to be a little scary. The person I've known longest on planet Earth, with the exception of my cousin Brian, is my friend Sarah. And Sarah gave me this mug. Do something every day that scares you. I'm paraphrasing. You could go look at the mug. Yeah, it's way in the back of the cabinet. I can't drink coffee anymore, so yeah. Do something every day that scares you. If you're not doing shit that scares you, then you're not growing. This is one of the scariest things I've ever done. But it's also one of the more interesting things. I don't mind being scared shitless. That's okay. I spent a lot of my life in fear. When you grow up in a doomsday cult, you spend a lot of your life in fear. I could make it here just fine. I have for years. But, the two of us, we look at the world and we go, where are the plants? Where are the animals? Where's the forest floor? Where's the smell of fresh grass? Where are these things? And the more they're absent, the more the heart misses something. It's not that I don't enjoy Salem. That's not it. is that there's another chapter to this life story. You have this too. You have many chapters to your life story. At the end of the book, when you recap the whole thing, did you enjoy every chapter? And was the last one worth it? I hope this is only the midway through my life. I really have just gotten through diagnosis of illness that has made 45 years of my existence pretty rough, along with all the trauma. And there's a lot of the trauma. I feel like just now I'm finding out who I am. And I want so desperately to do this next step. And it doesn't have to be the biggest thing on earth. I mean, at this point, I think just having the opportunity to do it would be so great. But the opportunity is so hard to get to. There's so many obstacles in the way. If I let my brain be okay with that like I have for a while, if I sit back any longer and say, you know what, maybe now's just not the time. Maybe next year, or maybe the next year. No, it can't wait any longer. It has to happen. At this rate, every grain of sand that falls through is another grain of sand that I'll never feel, beneath my feet in the form of earth, that I'll never hear in the form of my animals and the birds. I will never know the joy of doing this one thing that I wanted and was promised since I was such a small child. I think that would break me. I already gave up the mountains of New Hampshire and Maine, the beautiful coastline. I can't move there with my goddamn medical issues. So I'm trying to make my way en masse into so many properties, and they just keep disappearing. So I could wait, and that opportunity is going to get smaller and smaller. Or I could get up now, and maybe, if I'm lucky, if I can figure out a way how, we can build that next step.
I recognize the room, do you? The appropriate thing is to leave a space better than the way you found it, or at least as good. So it's we always want to do the right thing. So everything was painted and sanded and whatnot. So it's nice and clean and ready for the next person who wants to enjoy this space. I'll tell you right now, whoever takes this space over is going to be very happy. This is a good spot, and I certainly have enjoyed it. It's been fantastic. But very soon, what's left, gotta go. And that's okay. That's all right. You don't make an omelet without raiding the hen house or something. You thought I said what?
Raiding the hen house, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?"
So yeah, I don't speak really clearly, and I have a pretty insane accent, and I mumble sometimes. So my wife thought I said braiding the hen house. Well, I'll tell you right now. Look at the braiding. I'll braid the whole hen house. I don't even know what that means. I'll feed them and make them happy. That's about it. There we go.
Yep.
That's it. One chapter closes, another one opens. Going to Art and Discord's room. This is gonna be Sharon's room, and it's gonna be fucking awesome. Look at this. It's so cool. Big space, good energy. So a lot of people who had been in my room in Salem would notice there's a lot of plants hanging up, and I explained to people that we use those for different bloats, the Norse celebrations throughout the year. The solstices, the equinoxes, but there are also other high holy days that we use that stuff for. I use them as a magical filter. So I keep them in the room for their energy. They filter out the toxic, energy, and that's what they do. They were a sink for that stuff. So now we're going to ritually cremate these things. It's our way of setting things out, letting go of things, and we will get new plants for the new location. So there we go. Oh dear, they're on displays. It's bad. It's terrible. So we're on our way to the new shop, a New Hampshire tattoo with Larry and Abby. Again, people are like, why would you move out of Salem? Like, why would you do that? We said it before, if you're going to be a tattoo artist and you're going to work in a city with a tourist draw, you could do worse. Our opinion, and it hasn't changed, is that Salem was very different when we came here, almost 6 years ago. It was different when we used to come up here 20 years ago, We've been coming up to Salem for decades. We used to come up and visit our friends Leo and Judy and Leo Jr. at the Purple Scorpion. And shout out to my buddy Leo Jr. Just salt of the earth human being. We'd come up, we'd hang with them, and it had a fun, kitschy Halloween. It was what you expected. For the last few years, it's taken on a different feel, and it doesn't seem quite right. Yeah. We were talking about last night, the homeless population is through the roof.
Yeah, really. I don't know what happened, but a couple of years ago, we just inundated.
Yeah, so you're gonna have. I'm not saying anything evil against homeless people. I'm saying
something changed communally that we have that many homeless people here.
There we go. Hey, Bear. Hey, buddy. How you doing? There you go, Mike.
Thank you so much.
Jeez, no worries, brother.
You guys have a good time in New Hampshire. She
Yeah,
told me you
no
guys
worries.
moved, so.
We're not moved. We haven't moved here yet, so we'll probably
Yeah.
see you around. But hopefully things take a much better turn.
Yeah.
God bless you guys.
I'll see you guys
We'll
soon.
see you around.
Thank you.
Peace. Like 2 or 3 common. You'd see them all the time. There was one guy who was very old. He looked like a fur trapper or something, and he was kind of grumbly, and he pops up from time to time. But now there's at least 15 to 20 regulars that you see all the time, and they're not. I'm selective. I'll help people who are in. I have no problem helping people. There's a few of them that I know that are really struggling, but they're not. They don't drink. They're not drugging. So I hook them up with money and food and whatnot, sleeping bags, that type of thing. But it's gotten to the point where it's crazy. It's too much.
Yeah.
And like T said, it's something changed, but we don't know what it is. I'm gonna probably blow your mind here. I've never done. Good box. I've never done any of the touristy stuff except for gone to the House of Seven Gables,
Which is awesome.
Oh yeah, And people are like, why haven't you gone? I'm like, look, I have my opinions. I hear a lot of the tours. I've gotten to hear them in stages. Our friend Ken, who's out of Coven's Cottage, he's connected with them. He's a great person to go see a tour with if you really want to go to do a tour. But you know, there's also some weirdos. There's some weird guy with a top hat and glasses who's apparently a pedophile. I don't know what the situation is. It's, you know, you can't. Who knows? Like, who really knows? So I've never done any of the Salem stuff. I went to the Witch Museum, I think, in grade school, and I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No, you're not.
You know, and I like the history of it, but I think the thing that bothers me the most is that it's... Are we taking the highway?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that it's, the fuck was I talking about? No, I get it.
History.
Yeah. Well, the history is, this is what happens all the time. I forget what the hell I'm saying, and my wife tolerates me. The history of it is fascinating, you know, but it's hard to embrace that, you know, when the town is actively trying to remove it. The Essex collection has been sent out of town. That is the one that deals with the witch trials. So for a city that's famous for its witch trials, we're volunteering that stuff, and that's connected, I believe, to the Peabody Museum, because they bought the Essex collection and became the Peabody Essex, unless I'm missing something. And you know, there's a lot of angry people who want to yell and scream, but the history's getting taken away. There's a huge push in the city of Salem to really focus on the maritime history. And to give Salem its due, Salem was one of the largest maritime hubs on the East Coast. At one point in time, I think it was the biggest. And it was just because of the depth of the bay that in the mid-1800s they had to stop using it, and they switched over to other ports that were stronger. They could handle bigger ships. But that's the maritime history, and that's great, but that's not what made it famous. I mean, you've got the whaling history, that's Gloucester. You've got Ipswich has got its shellfish. You know, you've got all of these towns up here who have a maritime history that is really kind of connected to Salem. They don't really talk about, like, the birthplace of the National Guard very much. They don't talk about the Coast Guard. They just talk about they want to do more of the maritime history. The other thing that drives me insane is the people who come here and are somehow related to somebody who was persecuted during the witch trials, and like, well, we're all witches. Like, our family, we're all witches. I'm like, the witch trials didn't have anything to do with witchcraft. I know this is going to piss people off, but it was a land grab. It's not because these people were pagan. These people were Puritans. Yep. It's because of a land grab. You know, that's it. So when people come in and they go, oh, we got a family history of witches, you know, maybe you do. I don't know. But historically speaking, that was wildly absent until about, I don't know, Bewitched came to Salem and started focusing their attentions on it. And every year we tattoo people who, yeah, my family was persecuted, we're witches, we go back to Europe. Oh, that's fantastic. You should share that information and the facts behind it with the History Channel. Maybe they'll stop just making up crappy shows and doing other documentaries on Hitler, and they'll actually do some history. So, like we said before, we're moving the business because we need a centralized location for agriculture, for farming, for our bed and breakfast idea. But people are like, yeah, but why Nashua? I'm like, well, other than we love working with Larry. I can't even tell you. On top of that, the Nashua and Manchester areas of New Hampshire contain a large amount of heathens. Our friends at the Coven's Cottage in Salem, best occult store you could go to, really the only thing that looks traditional and real. They get a lot of people from Nashua. They get a lot of people from Manchester. You know, like I said, we're working with Larry and Abby. The wife seems to want to hang out with me still, so that's good. Oh, there's a hawk. We do that. We look for raptors when we drive. Looking into an apartment right now. We don't know if any of the house stuff is going to go through. So we're looking at an apartment just to shorten our commute. If we can get this, great. I do find it weird how people communicate with apartments, because we emailed and asked if it was still available, and the person was like, maybe. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, not particularly helpful. It was maybe in April.
Okay, so
Like, that doesn't really help me at all. But
maybe in
Craigslist,
April.
what are you gonna do?
Yep. People are funny.
That
We wrote somebody else who had like an acre of land, cute little house. It was even cheaper. It was like $1,300 a month. It was great. We could save a bunch of money living there, enjoy being in a quiet space. When the guy responded, he basically made it sound like he was going to be stopping by the house all the time. He's in New York as a whatever. He's going to be stopping by the house all the time.
he needs someone to keep his house clean. Is really what he needs.
Okay, he wanted like landscapers and maids, and that was why it was cheap. And he followed up the end of the email with a quote from the Bible. You have religious freedom as long as you're one of the big three. Once you get outside of the big three, it starts to get really sketchy.
Yeah.
You know, in 2007, we were renting a art studio in Rockland, Massachusetts at the Codman Shoe Factory building, which is I think now apartments. And there was this real prick who worked there as a janitor. His name was Mike. He was, think about the biggest asshole you've ever met, then name it Mike and make it worse. And that was this guy. I don't know what his problem was. He was just nasty. He was just mean. And all the artists seemed to be very nervous because of him. And then there was this other guy who ran the place, this guy Wynn, who was a real prick. And he'd screw people financially. And then Mike would enforce whatever laws he needed. That's true when you have any top-down control. I don't care how voluntary it is. You have people just step on people because they can. So I was working with encaustics one night, and it got a little smoky because I had the heat up too high, so I was turning it down, so it produced some smoke. Not a lot of smoke, just some smoke. Mike comes barging through the studio door while my cousin's there with me, and we're working on some stuff, screaming and yelling at me about my pagan devil-worshipping shit, and if it was up to him, he'd throw my fucking ass out. I had never had a problem with anybody in the building. I was always good with everything I was doing. I kept to myself, and that's how that was dealt with. It was eye-opening.
Yeah.
You know, to have suffered religious persecution my entire life in my own family because of intolerance from people who adopt one of the big three and don't like anybody else, to have that happen in a sacred space with art was really devastating, and it fucked me up. So when somebody responds to me with an apartment rental that they, they're going to give me Bible quotes and they're going to be stopping by, my number one answer is 100% fuck you. I don't want any part of it. Which is sad too, because people are like, yeah, I don't like Christians either. I'm like, no, I have no problem with Christians.
Yeah.
I have problems with assholes. They're different. You get assholes in every group.
Yeah.
I think that people connect ritual to a place, but ritual in tattooing is here. It's in your heart. It's in the heart of the artist who is doing it. It's in your heart. Ritual tattoos, true tattoos, real tattoos are already on your body. The artist is just bringing them to the surface. And that takes work between the artist and the client. This will be one of the most perfect environments I can think of to accomplish the goal that we set out, which is to make sacred tattoos for people. We are right near the water. We're right near marsh. There's trees everywhere. Of all the places I have ever seen, this is definitely one of the nicest, and absolutely it's the most unique. An open floor plan where people can bond together while they're getting tattooed. I've seen it, but not done like this. An environment that just feels serene. I can't even tell you, it's like sitting on the edge of a warm pool and looking out at so many beautiful things. Is the goal eventually to do these things in nature? Yeah. But not everyone who is going to get tattooed when we get to that point is going to want to do that experience. This is the type of experience that I think people should be tattooed in. The idea is that we all build off each other's energy, and that through the bonding experience of sharing pain and modification, we grow stronger. This is a place where you grow stronger. This has so much more to do with the client. This has so much more to do with the client and their needs. This is what I like about this. It feels nurturing. It feels whole.
So, when I first got into the industry in the mid-90s, I worked at a couple different shops in Mass as a body piercer. I was one of the first APP members in all of New England, one of the first 3. Back when I worked in Mass as a body piercer years ago in Worcester in the 90s, mid-90s, we had a big window out front, and it was key to getting people in to make the window display interesting. You didn't want just to camouflage everything. People remember what they walk by. Now in the age of the internet, everybody's dependent on the internet. So I like to do windows. So here we go, check this out. Want to see it from the inside? So you've already seen the inside, and of course the whole shop's gorgeous. That's all Larry. But here we go. This is the inside window. So here we are at the shop. As you can see, everything is set up. We started taking clients this past week. How's it been comfort-wise?
Friggin' awesome.
Oh my God, is it good? People look at this online and they go, I don't know what to say. It looks amazing. You have no idea.
That's awesome.
It's in the serene quality of it. I think the blue actually adds a level of peace and serenity. We got the tattoo yesterday. People were glowingly happy with this. I mean, it's just, Larry has outdone himself. Abby's presence makes things so fucking amazing. And we're just so happy to be here.
Yeah.
In the next video, we are going to talk about the farm. And we're going to talk about the next step to this. But as far as a space to do our work, I couldn't possibly be happier. I mean, there's...
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's unbelievable. Will we be doing ritual tattooing here? You know, I can't predict the future, but I'd say there's ritual tattooing at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And there's definitely spiritual tattooing here.
For sure.
So, you know, if I had people say like, I don't know, is it going to be like the last place? Or are you going to have like a space that's sacred? I don't know. You tell me. I think we covered it. So we're on 709 Milford Road.
Yeah.
I didn't screw that up this time. I screw it up every time.
Merrimack, New Hampshire, which is just over the border from Nashua.
It's actually funny. We had people come up from, where were they? From Brookline.
Yeah.
And we had people come down from, we had somebody the other day come down from the Lakes region. And there's an outlet.
Oh yeah, the outlets are
Yeah, the outlet's right
around
down the road.
corner.
So they were making a trip out of it. Like, we're going to go get tattooed, then we're going to go to the outlets. I'm like, I didn't know there were outlets. So, yeah, here we are. And like I said, next video, we're going to show some stuff related to the farm and me hitting puberty and moving and all sorts of other stuff. So, here we go. So, that's it. And that's probably coming out about a week. We're going to try to do Saturday or Sunday mornings. This video is going to go up late. It's going to be tonight, Sunday evening. So, there we go. Thanks for checking it out.
Thank you.
All right.
See you next time.
See you next time.
Because the only reason that I believe you advance is to advance the good, is to advance strength. This is a major step for us. This is a major step. And it's a very good step. I feel like the strength that is in this studio will only grow.
I don't know how much of that'll be useful. There's a lot of rambling. This is the thing, is that you have to talk into the camera and you're gonna get some salvageable shit and you're gonna get some crap.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the way it works.